Hey there! Welcome to the synopsis of The Wolf Among Us by Telltale Games. I'm your host as always, Ian, the part-time Dungeon Master. I hope you don't mind that I seem like I'm reading off a script a little bit with this. I've got a lot of notes and things to cover for this synopsis. So, yeah. Also, if you haven't finished The Wolf Among Us, or haven't watched my playthrough or someone else's playthrough of it, I highly suggest you do that now, in fear of spoilers. So, I guess I'll start off from the beginning. You are Sheriff Bigby Wolf. From the interactions with others in the game, as well as multiple transformations, I can say with confidence that you are indeed all of the big bad wolves. I mentioned this one or two times through my playthrough, but I'm positive now that you are indeed the big bad wolf from the Three Little Pigs, from Little Red Riding Hood, and you are the Wolfman. And this also goes the same for some of the others, such as Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack and Jill, and Jack Be Nimble. And I think there's also one other I'm forgetting about. Though, I had a hard time placing some of the other fables, to be honest, such as Georgie Porgy and Vivian the Girl with the Ribbon. Then again, I can only assume that not all fables are fully from the old fairy tales, since we've got slightly more modern ones roaming about, such as Jersey Devil and Ichabod Crane. This game was a fun time to me, and I know that I'm not always good at expressing myself, but I can assure you that it was fun for me. I love the story, and how well each character was developed. Even if they didn't get a lot of screen time, they borrowed enough from the old fairy tales and fables so that you knew more about the old versions of themselves, and that helped you relate to them and also helped you better fit them into the more modern world. As far as the plot goes, it was a bit mind-blowing, honestly, to see that Nerissa had, been behind Faith's head appearing on our doorstep. Though there is a major thing that bothered me when she admitted that, and it bothers me now. I have two theories that I wish I could confirm if one was the absolute truth. So the first theory is that we actually did meet Faith, and she died that night, with Nerissa leaving her head on our doorstep. That confession that Georgie happened while Faith was out servicing the woodsman. I suspect this because of the letter for Faith that Lily left her at the pudding and pie. The second theory is that it was not Faith that we met that night, but rather it was Nerissa, glamored to look like her. This one I'm a little bit more confident in because of the way they both said, you aren't as bad as everyone says, or, as you think you are, something like that. But the way that they both said that, as well as when the woodsman was with her, he kept asking her if she knew who he was, because I believe with his relationship with Lily, he would have known Faith and known that Faith was killed. Plus, the letter that Lily left for Faith was either forged, or maybe it was an old one. Either way, Nerissa left breadcrumbs for us to find the cloak and eventually get to know more about Faith and where she was from and what happened to her. I know that Nerissa and Faith and Lily all plan to essentially, pull a runner, as Georgie put it, and run away. And I now know that Nerissa used Faith and Lily's death and us as a means to get revenge on the Crooked Man and likely Georgie and Vivian. Which I kind of think adds to the expression Nerissa had when we tell her that Vivian took her own life to free the girls. Though that final moment when Nerissa is walking away from us at the end of the game, where we're still trying to place her, just like we tried to place Faith in the first act, I'm confident that there's more to Nerissa than she's letting on, and when and if they really do release the sequel, then we'll hopefully get more answers. I don't like how Crane got away, I'll be honest with that. I hope that this is wrapped up in the next game. Also, don't think that some of the fables are truly dead, like Bloody Mary. It took me a while to try and figure out why Georgie died so easily, but then I realized that the knife he had was likely silver. The Crooked Man was a man of business and class, so he likely had real silver for his silverware. I think silver is the most absolute way to kill a fable, especially one like Bigby, who, tanked shotgun shells for fun. So, now that I've globbed on about how great the game is, I guess I should really get down to my thoughts as far as the gameplay and everything. I loved the whole detective bit, where you had to inspect a lot of things and try and find enough clues to build a case, to where you were looking for very key things and you had to link them together, such as with Lily's corpse and then with the hotel room in the open arms, where you had to piece together what you found in the room to try and link it all together to what perhaps the person wanted or was trying to do. Also, such as figuring out that Toad was lying about something and that he was actually hurt, or evidence to prove that someone did something. You know, all of those was very appealing to me in the fact that you had to be a bit of a detective and you had to put things together and you had to think quickly. I liked the multiple choices for dialogues. However, at the same time, I know that some of the choices, for the most part, didn't matter. The choices kind of just made you choose how much of an ass you were and how good at your job you were. However, I didn't like that in some cases your choices didn't matter at all, as the outcomes were predetermined. I also didn't like that the time limit on making choices was kind of short, or it felt short at some times. And while I know in real life, part of the challenge of making decisions quickly is making decisions quickly. Sometimes being able to think out and fully weigh my options is best, but part of the challenge of the game, and just like in real life, you don't always get that. With a great story, good motivation for characters, the detail given not only to animation, but also making sure characters were well written, well expressed, and well voiced, I have to give this game, on my own personal scorecard, a solid 9 out of 10. The game is fun and wonderful to play, and I'll certainly play it again and try and fill out the Book of Fables. There are a few minor issues, as I said, but they are minor issues, and none of them really take away from the experience you get from playing the game. I do wish it was longer and that there was a much more complete story as to figuring out who Nerissa was versus waiting for a sequel, but I guess Telltale Games kind of hoped that there would already be a sequel, or that a sequel was actually going to happen when they made the original, so it makes sense that they left it off on a cliffhanger like that. I guess that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover for this synopsis, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I know this is short compared to like some of the other videos that I've done, especially the videos on the game itself, where I've ranged from 30 minutes to an hour to an hour and a half. But at the same time, I feel like I can't do full justice, but I can at least explain how I felt about the game and what it made me think and feel like while I played it. And honestly, like I said, I enjoyed the hell out of it. I enjoyed the interactions between characters. I enjoyed how each of them had their own motives, and how you even warned that, you know, we should look to our friends. Part of me thinks that maybe Colin was also working for the Crooked Man in a sense, considering he was there, and at the same time he was always so talkative, like he always knew what was going to happen, or rather the Crooked Man knew what was going to happen somehow. Part of me also thinks that maybe Bloody Mary was, you know, going through mirrors, and that's how she essentially spied on everyone for the Crooked Man. That thought did cross my mind, but at the same time I'm curious as to how much did the rest of the cast owe the Crooked Man. How deep into it were they, to the point that they would rat out or maybe even spy on Bigby and Snow for the Crooked Man? As we did find out in the Metalworks, in the final area before we fight Bloody Mary, there's a number of containers that have names on them. Each of them are for like different members of Fabletown, including ourselves and Snow White. So, anyways, I've gone on long enough, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See you next time.